to detailing. That means that in addition to being built for architects, Revit is for the MEP and structural engineers, as well as construction professionals who are part of a project team. The benefit? With everyone collaborating in a common BIM environment, you can more easily coordinate and share model data. Architects experience the unique benefits of Revit through all stages of the design process. Starting with the early stages of conceptual design, explore ideas with sketches and massing studies. Then translate conceptual designs into BIM data within Revit, moving from sketching to detailed design. Use the Dynamo computational design tool with Revit to automatically generate design options and complex forms based on your constraints and objectives. Modeling in Revit, responsive 3D models free you to focus on architectural design. Add architectural elements to the building's model. Place intelligent elements such as walls, doors, and windows only once. And Revit will automatically create accurate floor plans, elevations, sections, schedules, 3D views, and renderings. Revit automatically refreshes when you make a change, so your model is always updated. Revit analysis tools inform decisions during the design process and help you understand your design before it is built. Use Insight within Revit to visualize and interact with building performance indicators and create analytical models. Architecture is visual. With Revit, you can create photorealistic visualizations that speak for themselves.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Good morning, Kamal sir, and I think Abhishek is also here. A very good morning to you as well, Abhishek. We'll, I think, wait for a few more minutes, and then we can start the webinar.
Okay.
Okay.
And help communicate design intent. Produce project documentation with cutaways and 3D views from any angle, as well as stereo panoramas to extend your design to virtual reality. Connect design to construction with documents that provide the essential details needed to build a design. Revit sits at the center of a connected and interoperable set of solutions that further extend its power for conceptual design, analysis, collaboration, and visualization. For architects, Revit BIM software connects the teams, tools, and data you need to deliver the high-quality work that retains and wins new business. As an architect, the right design software can help you realize and express your vision. It can also improve the way you work. Architects recognize that building information modeling is a powerful collaborative process for conceptualizing, documenting, and communicating building designs. Autodesk Revit software for BIM is a tool for multidiscipline design that connects teams and tools and extends design to detailing. That means that in addition to being built for architects, Revit is for the MEP and structural engineers, as well as construction professionals who are part of a project team. The benefit? With everyone collaborating in a common BIM environment, you can more easily coordinate and share model data. Architects experience the unique benefits of Revit through all stages of the design process. Starting with the early stages of conceptual design, explore ideas with sketches and massing studies. Then translate conceptual designs into BIM data within Revit, moving from sketching to detailed design. Use the Dynamo computational design tool with Revit to automatically generate design options and complex forms based on your constraints and objectives. Modeling in Revit, responsive 3D models free you to focus on architectural design. Add architectural elements to the building's model. Place intelligent elements such as walls, doors, and windows only once. And Revit will automatically create accurate floor plans, elevations, sections, schedules, 3D views, and renderings. Revit automatically refreshes when you make a change, so your model is always updated. Revit analysis tools inform decisions during the design process and help you understand your design before it is built. Use Insight within Revit to visualize and interact with building performance indicators and create analytical models. Architecture is visual. With Revit, you can create photorealistic visualizations that speak for themselves and help communicate design intent. Produce project documentation with cutaways and 3D views from any angle, as well as stereo panoramas to extend your design to virtual reality. Connect design to construction with documents that provide the essential details needed to build a design. Revit sits at the center of a connected and interoperable set of solutions that further extend its power for conceptual design, analysis, collaboration, and visualization. For architects, Revit BIM software connects the teams, tools, and data you need to deliver the high-quality work that retains and wins new business. As an architect, the right design software can help you realize and express your vision. It can also improve the way you work. Architects recognize that building information modeling is a powerful collaborative process for conceptualizing, documenting, and communicating building designs. Autodesk Revit software for BIM is a tool for multidiscipline design that connects teams and tools and extends design to detailing. That means that in addition to being built for architects, Revit is for the MEP, part of a project team. The benefit? With everyone collaborating in a common BIM environment, you can more easily coordinate and share model data. Architects experience the unique benefits of Revit through all stages of the design process. Starting with the early stages of conceptual design, explore ideas with sketches and massing studies. Then translate conceptual designs into BIM data within Revit, moving from sketching to detailed design. Use the Dynamo computational design tool with Revit to automatically generate design options and complex forms based on your constraints and objectives. Modeling in Revit, responsive 3D models free you to focus on architectural design. Add architectural elements
Abhishek,
to the building's
video,
model. Place intelligent elements such as walls,
Okay, very good morning to all. I think we can begin with the webinar now. A very good morning to all, and my name is Architect Tushar Mandal, and I am a teaching faculty at the Periyar School of Architecture, New Delhi. I welcome you all to the 13th webinar in the Every Friday webinar series, a platform for young minds to express their ideas. Today's webinar will be about discussing the BIM workflow and will be presented by architect Abhishek Mukherjee. Before introducing the speaker for today's webinar, I would like to introduce two other senior academicians. The first would be architect Premendra Raj Mehta, who is the mentor of our school. And then we would also have architect Kamal Raj, who is the HOD of this institution. So Mehta sir, if you could just say a few words and motivate us, please. Mehta sir.
Yeah, a very warm welcome to all the participants, in particular the presenter Abhishek, who has taken time to present the possibilities of encouraging people to join in the BIM stream, the international practice on preparation of drawing and get the benefit out of the possibilities that software offers. It is already in practice in India, and particularly in Delhi, and many KPOs assist architects world over from India using this software. I'm very, very happy, and I extend a very warm welcome to Abhishek from Capricorn. At the same time, I also wish to tell you that this is a great effort Tushar is making week after week to bring in new thoughts, new possibilities, new practices being used by the younger generation, and the ideas which they have to deal with the challenges which they are facing in profession, and the challenges which our urban and rural areas face in terms of habitat. And what we discuss here is a new idea, and try to carry it forward the best possible way the Periyar School can deal with it. We have had 13, and this is the 13th in the series. And I must tell you that the response has been very good. And some of the initiatives, issues raised here have been attended to. And one such has been, which came up in the very first few, was concerning the nomenclature, the variety of nomenclature which exists in postgraduate education. And when we touched the concerned government departments, Council of Architecture, we got an immediate response immediately after the budget, where urban planning has been given some kind of a focus. So we said this is one issue which needs to be attended, and government immediately addressed. And they said there can't be more than 2 nomenclatures when it comes to urban planning. So initiative has been taken. So I'm very happy to share with you that a issue raised by a youngster attended by Periyar School has yielded results already. And we do hope that whenever there is an opportunity for Periyar School to carry forward the idea which in youngsters bring in, the original thought which he brings in, to take it forward to the respective concerned departments. So that's our commitment. And I'm very happy that we have reached the 13th in the line. And we wish to open up now very soon the other programs, one in summer, wherein we would discuss specialities required in the profession, be it software, which Abhishek would discuss today, or be it any other aspect of design which requires a kind of attention in this time of situation in the country. So we would remain alive to what is needed, not get stuck to the syllabus for BArch, but we would attend to the contemporary issues which bother society and which bothers professionals like us. So very warm welcome once again. And I would request Kamal, who heads the school, who spearheads the studies and who's throwing open ideas every time to deal with the contemporary issues. I would just request him to say a few words before we get going. Kamal, please.
Morning, everybody. Welcome. This is a very relevant topic for our times. It provides a common interactive platform for many agencies, because today the construction has become very complicated. Also for the public projects in many countries, BIM model is now the default, instead of a traditional item rate or other things. So the usage of BIM modeling is going to increase. It is going to become sort of a default method of reviewing or awarding public projects. So I think it's a very important topic, and let's see Abhishek. Welcome Abhishek to start his presentation.
Thank you so much, Mehta sir and Kamal sir. Now I would introduce our speakers for today. Our speaker for today's webinar, Abhishek Mukherjee. I request him to, if you could just switch on your camera. Thank you. Abhishek is an architect who specializes in BIM. He did his BArch and MArch in building services from Jamia Millia Islamia. He worked as a product architect for several years and now is working as a BIM specialist architect at Capricorn. He has delivered BIM training, implementation, and troubleshooting to DMRC, BDP, IKEA, RCOP, and many such organizations. Today, he will be talking about optimizing the design workflow using BIM. I would request Abhishek to now begin his presentation, and I request all participants to keep themselves muted for the duration of the presentation. There will be a question, answer, and discussion round once the presentation is over. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Tushar. Can you just confirm if I am audible?
You're audible, but I'm not sure if your video is visible.
Yeah, my video is
okay, yeah,
on
so
with the
yeah,
other
you're
device.
visible.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's visible. Okay.
So thank you so much for the introduction, Tushar, and I thank Periyar School of Architecture also for giving me the opportunity. I also would like to extend my thanks to Kamal Raj sir and Mehta sir for their kind words. So I'll share my screen. Let's directly get on with the topic. So I'm going to start with a small PPT and then we'll carry on with the demonstration. So today's topic is the BIM workflow, and rightly said that in today's scenario, it's a very relevant topic. And nowadays, the mandate has also been extended to infrastructure projects. All metro projects are accepting submissions of their drawings in BIM softwares. And they are also not just expecting Revit, but they're also expecting other relevant tools along with it. So I'm going to discuss about all of that, and then I'll give you a quick demonstration. So this is about me. I've trained more than 250 plus professionals, and I have a 7+ years of experience, and I've given more than 500 hours of webinars and workshops as a part of Capricorn and in individual capacity. So let's directly jump on to what is BIM. Of course, everybody knows the full form. That's Building Information Modeling. So building is not restricted to building. It may be any facility, like for example, metros like the DMRC or Nagpur Metro, Maharashtra Metro. Everyone is actually now shifting to this platform. So it's not just building, it is infrastructure projects also. The information contained within the elements of the model is basically the information which we are looking for. So information of a wall, let's just take an example of a wall. Maybe it's base constraint, top constraint, the area of the wall, the volume of the wall. A small object may have a lot of information. So those information need not just be seen, but they have to be captured in one place as well. So in the form of estimates, BOQs and schedules, we used to do that earlier on the traditional workflow. Here also we do it in the same way, but the things are very easy. With a few clicks, we are able to get the quantities. So the idea is to solve issues and clashes arising from coordination of various discipline models. Earlier on with the CAD workflow, the problem was that we had separate files, different kind of softwares whose interoperability may not be good. And all of them were working with the same project. And then a lot of clashes used to be solved on site itself. But here our idea is to make 2D drawings, 3D models, as well as quantities and estimates directly on one platform, so that any change which happens within the drawings will be reflected in the quantities and the 3D model as well. So supporting disciplines of BIM are all of the disciplines actually. So architecture, structure, MEPF has to be done within the same model. We can of course schedule them phase wise, like let's say that there is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of a particular project. We'll be able to calculate the quantities and show the model accordingly as per the phase as well. The tools which BIM is using right now, and lots of government agencies are also prescribing that. Pretty soon PWD and CPWD will also be taking this up. The first one is Autodesk Revit. So Revit is the standard software. Now you may wonder that why not ArchiCAD or why not Vectorworks? They are also good softwares. So ArchiCAD and Vectorworks, both of them do not support the MEP modeling. So the problem with those softwares has been solved by Revit, where BIM modeling can be done, of course. Presentation drawings can be prepared very quickly. Working drawings can also be prepared with accuracy and precision. 3D views are automatically generated. If you draw anything on the plan, it will be there in the sections. It will be there in the quantity. That will also be there in the 3D view. And of course, material quantities can be generated. Once the Revit model is complete, then we move into Navisworks. Navisworks is another software which is essentially helping us in clash detection. So clash detection is like, suppose there's a beam and there are, let's say, lots of ducts running through. In a regular traditional workflow, we used to ask for the sections from the MEP experts. They used to give us the section and the drawings. We used to do an XREF on CAD, and then we used to solve the problems manually. Here in Navisworks, the clashes will be detected automatically. And I'll be explaining also with the demonstration that how this can be done. And there are some things called 4D simulation and quantification as well, which are of course out of the scope of today's discussion. And 4D simulation is essentially a simulation of the construction based on time. And quantification is, of course, Revit also gives you a kind of quantification, but Navisworks gives you a better quantification. We can also review data. That means we can mark revision clouds. We can go for walkthroughs within the model. And then finally, when the Navisworks is done, we go to a software called BIM Collaborate Pro. It's called a common data environment. It's a drive space where we upload our files. We can download the files from there also. And without having the software, we can open the files and then review them. We cannot make any changes to them on the cloud, but we can, of course, download them and then work on them. So BIM Collaborate Pro is a kind of environment where all the stakeholders will be available. Revit and Navisworks are softwares which are on your local PCs. And then BIM Collaborate Pro will be for everyone, and they'll be able to do the same things, including the model coordination and clash detection, doing some kind of revision clouds and markups, and they are well connected to emails. Transmittals can be generated. So this is the basic software or tools which we used for BIM. So a brief introduction about Revit. What is Revit? I'm sure a lot of people must have heard about Revit. So the full form of Revit is actually revise it. It was very initially, it was not even a part of Autodesk, but then Autodesk acquired it somewhere maybe a decade ago. And then it has been completely developed. So Revit is a design and modeling tool for architects and engineers. It has capabilities of documentation, energy analysis, and estimating quantities of elements. Revit is the only BIM tool which supports all disciplines of modeling, including the MEP as well. Revit supports 2D and 3D. Change management in Revit is easy, as one needs to make the change only in one view and rest of the views will follow accordingly. Revit has good rendering and walkthrough capabilities also. Of course, Revit also supports V-Ray plugin. Revit also supports, as in Lumion supports Revit models. And the same workflow which we used with SketchUp and Lumion, we can use with Revit as well. So that is a separate part. Rendering is nothing which is mandated from the authorities. But yeah, the Revit model, the information contained within the model and later on used for asset tracking within the infrastructure facilities, that is more important in terms of the infrastructure projects and the mandates which are there. So if you see over here, if this is a screenshot from Revit. This is one of my projects. And if you see on the right side, this is the 3D view. And on the left side, this is the drawing. So easily we can correlate any changes which we make over here will reflect over here as well. I'll show you with this model also during the demonstration. Then if you look at this, these are the working drawings. So the same level of working drawings or even better can be achieved with the help of Revit and BIM tools. And I'm not saying that ArchiCAD is not capable enough. The only problem with ArchiCAD, as I said last time also, is that it doesn't support anything. So here we see that the plan is there. Similarly, the section is also there. So all of these are interrelated. And when you cut a section through any place, you will see all the modeling elements are there. Only the dimensioning and the texting has to be done by you for each section. If we talk about schedules and quantities, this is also linked. And if I just want to see which particular element has been selected, I can just click over here and that particular element highlights up. If I delete this element, this goes away from here also. So let's say I want to find out the area of the porch or the entrance porch tiles, let's say. Then it is directly giving me an area by just a few clicks of a few options. And directly I'll be able to find out what the area is, provided that the modeling has been done correctly. So there are lots of people who are using Revit as just a 3D tool. They are not specifying the categories. They are not going for the families properly, which is why the quantities are also not correct. So it's not a problem of the software, it's a problem of the workflow which you're using within the software. So that is how we are going to see this. And of course, we have a total also. But as you see that this is still in the process of making, so 125 mm thick and 150 mm thick concrete slab may require a volume instead of an area. So we can omit these out and we can only go for the finished floor areas from here. This is just an example. We can calculate the schedules. These are called schedules and quantities for each and every element over here. You see on the right hand side, this is called the project browser. Here, each and every section, each and every elevation, then the plans, sections, elevations, 2D drawings, details, everything will be legends, everything will be over here and easily accessible to you. Just double click and then it will open up. Now the second tool which we'll be talking about is Navisworks. So Navisworks is a BIM tool which comes into effect after we have completed modeling. So everybody has this confusion that what is Revit, what is BIM, and how are BIM and Revit different. So BIM is actually a workflow which uses tools like Revit, Navisworks, and Collaborate Pro. So these three tools actually make up the BIM workflow. Revit is the design authoring tool, or you can say it's the designing and modeling tool. When I say design, although we can also calculate the structural design as well over there, but it's not the most ideal software for doing that. The best software for taking up Revit models is actually Autodesk Robot, but you can also do it in STAAD Pro and other softwares which are for structure modeling. For MEP analysis and energy analysis, Revit is one of the best softwares that we can do. And then once everything has been taken care of, to check internal clashes within the model, we can go into Navisworks. We can also check the external clashes, but external clashes are usually checked in Collaborate Pro. So if I just see this, that Navisworks offers a wide range of features, of which most important and useful for architects and engineers is the clash detection. So if you remove clash detection, then we have a lot of other features also, but we can check hard clashes and we can also check the clearance clash. So I'll show you all of that. And the interference checks are the ones which we are working with. So this is a screenshot of the Navisworks clash detection. So see if I just zoom in over here. So these are the clashes between two models. So I've selected two models. One was the structure model. The other one is the piping model of the firefighting, the sprinkler pipes basically. And in case any pipe is going through a beam, then it will highlight. So it is an interference check. An interference check within that model has been run, and I see that 82 clashes have appeared over here. I have selected one clash and it is highlighting on the screen, and in the other part, the X-ray view of that is particularly showing up. Let us escape. And we see that 3D views can also be done. Then we have sectioning tools as well. There is quantification, timeliner, and animation as well, which may be taken up at a later class or discussion. So this is there. Apart from that, we can cut dynamic sections. So in Revit also you can cut sections. But here, if you cut the section, then directly you can take some decisions from it. Let's say I want to see the piping, whether it goes with my architecture and plumbing layout. So if I zoom in again, you will see that all these pipes are actually coming from one level and then going on to the other level, and then finally going on to the drainage of the site and or the supply. And accordingly, you have the other type of section also, which is showing the interior section, and we can correlate both of these. So this is a section from within wall, and Navisworks has a good sectioning capability. Even skew sections can be cut directly in Navisworks. Now talking about the third one, which is BIM Collaborate Pro, it is a drive space in the cloud. You do not need a separate installation. You just want to go and then, just type in acc.autodesk.com. That's the URL. And from there, you can upload and download files, manage the documents. Now, someone may wonder that why don't I use a OneDrive or a Google Drive for this? Dropbox, they are also there. But Dropbox, OneDrive, and Google Drive are very generic. They open only files which are, let's say, PDF, JPEG, and some standard file formats. Otherwise, you can just upload and download the files. But here, it supports more than 65 file formats, and you are able to open the Revit files, CAD files, DWG, everything can be opened up, and you can directly see them on the cloud, even if you do not have the softwares, right? So there's design development, work in progress, architecture, structure, etc., etc. So all of these things are present over here, and you just have to double click on the element and then see it. It also has something called review status. If your drawing is approved, then it will show approved. If your drawing is rejected, it will show rejected. It can also have some revision cloud, so you can just mark up some revisions directly. I'll show you this also if time permits today. And we'll be able to, see this happening live over there. And after all of this, you are able to also control the revisions, and you can compare two revisions very effectively. So this is one of the key advantages of BIM Collaborate Pro. Another is called work sharing. Work sharing is where multiple people can actually access the same model and work in that at the same time, that is simultaneously. So if you are four architects with CAD, it was easy because one was doing section, the other one was doing elevation, the third one was doing, let's say, plans, and one was doing 3D view. The four people are involved. But here, everything is being done by one person. So often a lot of people say that Revit has actually replaced four architects because one architect is now doing the entire thing. But of course, time does not permit to do that. So therefore, maybe four people need to be involved in that particular project. So you can just host your cloud on the Collaborate Pro platform. And then after that, that person can, give rights to the others also. They are given rights as per work sets, and then they can work properly in that simultaneously. So we can have a discussion on that also. So essentially, the BIM Collaborate Pro clash detection looks like this. So this is a metro project which we use as a demo in Capricorn. And this is a primary model, which is the structure file. And then we have the secondary model, which is the architecture file. And at any place where the structure and architecture is interfering, we see that green and red becomes the colors and it gets highlighted. For example, this is a clash where it is doubling up. So the structure is also calculating the value and the architecture is also calculating the value, whereas the architecture wall should have stopped over here only. But of course, because architecture is done by someone else, structure is done by someone else, so there has to be some kind of confusion over here. So for internal clashes, architecture to architecture clashes can also be there. So for that, we use Navisworks, and for external clashes, that is cross consultant. That means architecture to structure, structure to MEP, or MEPF separately can also be done. Similarly, these can be visualized in this way, and later on we can create issues out of it. If we want to see more detail, we can also click over here. So now coming to the BIM workflow and how it is done. So ideally speaking, and again, I'm focusing on ideally because a lot of people are still migrating to BIM in countries which are abroad. A lot of people are already there and some people are migrating. Here, most of the people are migrating, and therefore not every data is on the cloud. Ideally, it should be on the cloud, and from there, the Revit and Navisworks can be accessed. You make the Revit model, architecture, structure, MEPF. You solve the clashes manually over here. Then you take it to Navisworks, you solve the other clashes automatically, which Navisworks will detect. And then we can assign the clashes to people also. We can do reviews and markups and then send the file back to Revit. There's an option called switchback with which we can directly send it back to Revit. After that, we are going to solve the clashes which are detected by Navisworks. And then finally, when it is done, we are going to upload it to Collaborate Pro. Again, there will be some difference between revision 1 and revision 2 that can be directly visualized and seen in Collaborate Pro automatic revision checking. And after that, it will be again taken up by the other consultants. Their model will be done. Again, it will be published to CPRO. So it is a to and fro process. We can also upload the model directly, the Navisworks model directly. Revit models, of course, we are uploading. So this is the entire workflow which we use, and I'm going to show you a very quick demo of it right now. So let me just allow me to stop share for a moment, and I'll share my Revit screen. I'll not model anything. I'm just going to show you how this looks like. So this is a model. It's still being prepared. It's not complete as of now. But if this model is there, yeah. So now I can just, let me just hide the trees for the time being. I can click on any wall. Like, let's say I clicked on this wall, and I can scroll down to see the information contained within it. So the area of the wall is this, the volume of the wall is this, the length of this particular wall is this. One by one, if I want to see, then I can see for the window also. If I go to the window, I go to edit type, I'll be able to see the height, width, etc., for the particular model. If I want to go to the ground floor plan, let's say, I can just double click and go to the ground floor plan. Now this particular ground floor plan looks like this. At any point of time, I can cut a section. So if I go over here, double click on the section head, I see that this section is there. And later on, I can use the dimensions also to dimension this particular section. But if I just go to the ground floor and I cut a new section, then what will happen? I'll close the 3D view. I'm going to go to the section option over here, and I can directly cut a section. Let's say I want a section now through the staircase from here. Now Revit is going to directly give you the section. If you just double click over here, you do not need to create or spend time creating these things over here, right? Now you can also check for problems within the section. So there may be problems within the section over here. So you see that there is a mix up of everything. So we can quickly go to a tool called visibility graphics, and then maybe I want my grids to be half tone. That is maybe the levels also, and then maybe yeah, and I can switch on the line weight also. Then whatever element is being cut, that will be shown. Then I can go for the detail level to be fine. If I want the beam and the slab to be black, I can just go and then search for the structural framing, that is the beam, right? Yeah, I think someone is annotating. We'll have a question answer round at the end. So at that point of time, you can ask whatever you want. So I'll go for a solid fill within the beam. Same for the floors. I want a black solid fill. And it's that easy to actually, make the section look good. Oh, the section line should also be, let's say, half tone, or I can also switch off the sections. And then later on, I can just do dimensioning. Just the same dimension continuous, which we used to have. And the dimensions and text, everything over here in Revit are, they are annotative. That means if I change the scale, of course it isn't 1:1, but if I change the scale which I need for the printout, then of course you see that these are also reducing. They try to or tend to be readable. Now look what happens if I just go to the 3D view. And this is again for those people who are maybe new to Revit, because people who know this. So I select this, this is being selected. If I change the size of the window to a bigger size, let's say, so this also changes, and the same thing changes in plan. Now I just need to change the sill level to something lesser. So automatically this is also changing, and any kind of dimension, let's say I hit Control Z and I go for a dimension within the wall, any kind of dimension associated with this window will also change once I change the sill level. You don't need to do and redo all of the things again and again. So much so for the drawings. Now let's look at the schedules. Now I showed you a floor schedule last time. This one probably at a later stage. We can also go for a room schedule. So a room schedule will tell you what kind of rooms are there within the project, how many of them are there, and what is the area of the room, and which floor do they belong to. We can also go for ceiling finish, floor finish, and wall finish of those particular rooms. So for example, if I want to see that let's say the toilet male has a ceiling finish of paint, so I can just write it down also. And then I can also go for the tiles 300. So these are the small areas where we can add text. Otherwise, we cannot change this. This is something, or these areas are something which are the properties of that particular room. So that cannot be changed from here. So this is directly reading from the model. And if I want to get rid of this room, then the model will also show that. Plus, we require, let's say, a wall schedule. So I have a wall schedule over here, but it looks like this. But if I want to, arrange it, like I want to see how much of ASE block work 100 mm is actually there, the volume and the area of that, right? So maybe the area is required because it's a smaller wall. So I can just use small little options like these, where I can, go for, let's say, go for the type mark. Let's go for sorting and grouping by family and type. I'll add a header and footer. I don't want to itemize every instance. I'm going to go to formatting. I need to calculate the total area and the total volume. And now it is showing, okay, I think only the header and only the footer would have made sense. I'll just keep the header. So what happens is basically the entirety of all the walls. So if you see on the 3D also, which I'm selecting, all the walls which are 100 mm AAC block are having this much volume, this much area, 200 is this, and so on. We have some HPL in the toilet area also, and we have some insulated walls as well. So all of these are adding up to this one. So obviously you would not require volume for small, less thick walls, and you don't require areas for thicker walls. So all of these things can be directly done over here. And then finally we can just, go for sheets. We can place the drawings in the sheets and then directly go for submissions. Now this was a very quick demonstration of what Revit is. Now this particular Revit model can be taken to Navisworks, but I don't have the MEP for this. So I'm going to take up another model for Navisworks. Let me share the screen for Navisworks. So now this is the Navisworks screen. It's pretty blank. It's not that interactive like Revit. But if I go over here and then, switch on a model which is there, it's a very basic preliminary model which has the all the services basically. So obviously if there are services, then we would need the sections. Of course, the services in the rooftop can be seen directly, but inside the building, for that we need sections. So I'll just go to this viewpoint tab, and then there's this enable sectioning option. The moment we enable section, automatically this section is cut. We can change the planes of the section also, right? So I think this is not cutting the model. Now it's starting to cut the model. So this is a dynamic section. We can cut the section from both sides. In fact, not just both sides, we can cut the section from all the angles and then see what is happening within the model. Similarly, if I go for the section box instead of section plane, that can also be done. So we are going to see the pipes of this model. Let's say we can cut a section from the shaft. And within this, if I want to see the properties of the element, so Navisworks is not a modeling tool. Navisworks is essentially a tool which is used for reviewing. So I can select this, and again on the right hand side you can see all the options within the pipe. Let's say I do not like this pipe. I want this pipe to say that this is not correct or something like that. And I can just go to the review tab, and the review tab I can draw a cloud and then mark this to someone that please check the diameter of this pipe or anything else which I want to write. So this is like a revision cloud on the software, which you used to take a print out and then go to your senior, and then the senior would probably mark the revision cloud, and then you go to your seat and then change that. So all of those things have been digitized. You save paper, you save time, you actually your efficiency increases with this. And I'm not going to keep that. I just wanted to show you this feature. I'm switching off the enable sectioning, and I'll control Z so that this also goes away. But again, as I said, the main part of this is actually the clash detection. I want to check the clashes between the various services. That is the most challenging thing as far as even experienced engineers and architects go. When they go to site, checking any kind of clashes becomes difficult unless and until you actually place that element. So a lot of people, especially for MEP, check clashes on site. But here, if you just go to the home tab, there is this option called clash detective. This is the clash detection option. Within the same model, the clashes can be detected. Now, I told you earlier on that we can check clashes for the same discipline also. As in, we can go and then add a test. Let's call this test 1. And we can just go to Navisworks file. So this is an NWD file. There are other formats also called NWC. So I can check architecture to architecture clashes also. So what are architecture to architecture clashes? Whether any window is coming up on the intersection of the wall, whether there are two walls within one place so that the quantities will be calculated, let's say twice for that wall. So that can be done. And that can also, we can also do the electrical to, let's say, mechanical clash, or let's say mechanical to structural clash. That will be a good one, I think. We can also set the tolerance. The tolerance is a value where we want to, show whether what to ignore basically. So do we want to ignore the clashes lesser than 10 mm? Yes, that's the tolerance. and it's a hard clash. Any clash where we want a clearance clash, that would be like, let's say there is a pipe, you want to do some insulation around it. So there should be a difference of, let's say 10, 15 mm, 20 mm between the pipes. So that is a clearance clash. So I'll go for a hard clash between the mechanical and the structural, or let's go for a structural and sprinkler, which I showed you in the PPT. So this is the first one. We can also check this. This is the second one. This is the third one. Now to find clashes, how do I find the clashes? I can hide the other model, check which part this is, and this will give you the details of that object. Later on, you go back to Revit and then change that. We cannot model over here. We are just able to do this. Plus, we can also take out a report from here where, you know, you can go for report, and then we can just go for a tabular report out of it, which will open up in your software. There are 82 clashes over here, and those clashes will actually, you know, appear over here in the results section. So this is a quick demonstration of Navisworks of what it is. Now let me just go back to I'll go back to Google Chrome. That's where I can give you the demonstration for ACC. Yeah. So the URL is acc.autodesk.com. No installation required. All of these things are fine. You just need an account. So that account is essentially the license. So here we have licenses for individuals. We have licenses for companies also. So let's say that I want to go for any particular project. So let's go for a metro implementation project. Right. So I'll see that there is this. There's a work in progress, and for each station there are various drawings. So we have an architecture drawing, we have structure drawing, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, firefighting, everything is there. Now this is for those people who are already working with Revit and they probably want to upskill themselves. So if you upskill yourself in ACC, that is Autodesk Construction Cloud, then you'll see that you are able to you know, extract model information from these things directly within the cloud. I'm opening the electrical model. And you see only electrical is here. Now again, the same thing can be done. So let's say I want to see only the electrical model. I can select the particular thing and I can go for the properties of that element. Right. So these are the properties of that particular element. This is a pipe of length 3 meters pipe, 3.4 meters, 3.34 meters pipe, and where these things are and how you are able to see all of these. This is going to be there. And apart from that, any other MEP element should be here. And similarly for HVAC, structure, etc., all of these are there. And if I talk about the coordination between these, so I can go and then go for the model coordination. This model coordination is going to give me clashes between two elements, essentially two models and multiple elements between them. So if I go to the clashes, I see that there are so many clashes between the architecture and structure model. There are so many clashes between the architecture and HVAC model. So let's say I want to check the 54 clashes between these models. So how do I check those? So it is going to load up. Now, each of these models are very heavy, but once you upload it to cloud, the bandwidth of your internet is used and not the RAM. So like, let's say I see this particular clash. So I want to know what this element is. So there's a railing, of course. So the railing is a part of the architecture model. And this green part is essentially a made by a floor, but of course it's a kind of a diffuser. It is going to tell me what kind of clashes are here. Basic wall with some HVAC element. So again, we can just close this and then look at all the other clashes. There's a louver window which is clashing with some other model. When we click over here, it is going to show me what the clash is about. So this particular axial fan is actually clashing with the louvers of some particular window, which is a part of the architecture model. The axial fan is a part of the HVAC model. So similarly, we can check clashes between other things also. And once we know the clashes, then we can create views out of it also. So since the models are separate, the architecture and structure model are just combined, and then I'll just show you that. So now the structure and architecture model are combined over here. So now you can see the entire metro station. The good part is that you can also go for first person view. The first person view will actually help you in walking through the model. So I just need to be very close to the model, or else I'll fall down. Oh, there was no ground below me. I'm just using my arrow keys and my scroll button and the mouse to actually walk below the model. And there's some probably, yeah, there's some underground part also over here. So I can now, just move around the model, or I can also, add more number of models, right? If I add more number of models, I'll be able to update the view. Like, let's say I want to add the HVAC model also, although it will not show on the level which I'm in. And I can just update the view. Now the HVAC is also added over here. And I can, if I'm over here, I can just go to the upper floor. Let me switch this off. Let me again switch it on. I'll click on, okay, got it. And I have this option to go to the other floor. I can use my, I'm just going down and down. Yeah, now I got it. So I was finding out the key, it was E. I was clicking on Q. So Q is actually going down and E is going up. Now I'm at the platform level. So I guess everybody has used Delhi Metro, at least people who are in Delhi. So everything can be seen over here. Now, if you don't like something over here, you can also create an issue out of it. Once you create an issue, these are all issues. So if I click on this issue, it will take me to that particular place and tell me that what the problem is. So there are so many clashes between these elements. So this is the entire thing which we can do with the Collaborate Pro. So this was a quick demonstration of this particular model. And now we can proceed for the Q&A session. So either you can type your Q&A in the chat box, or you can unmute and speak as well. Or if you want to raise hand, that's also fine.
So thank you, Abhishek, for the talk. It was quite engaging and synoptic. Participants can now ask questions. You can either unmute yourself and ask directly, or you can put your questions in the chat box if needed. Like I myself also have like a question or two, but let's wait and see if one of the participants would like to ask a question first. And in the meantime, I would request if architect Premendra Raj Mehta could just say give his views or his comments on the subject.
Tushar, let participants ask first questions. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we'll wait for a few participation questions. So I think Lijo has a question that he wants to ask, architect Lijo Matthew. He asks about the energy simulations in the whole BIM workflow, as to how energy simulations can be done and what are the related softwares or tools for that.
Okay. Yeah. So in the BIM workflow, we can directly do some energy calculation right from the concept to the schematic to the detailed design level. Of course, the proper energy analysis should be left to the experts who are like green building experts and sustainability. But for passive design measures and other calculations related to solar and maybe for shadows and all that, we can do using directly using Revit. And we need another plugin called Insight. There's another plugin called Green Building Studio also. I do not know personally how Green Building Studio is, but Insight is a very good tool which you can use for doing solar analysis, shadow analysis. We can also do, there is a option for doing wind analysis also, but again, some MEP engineer would be a better person to explain that. And we can also go for, heating and cooling loads, again, specific for MEP. So yeah, you can do it using the plugin which is there for Revit. Thank you, Tushar.
Thank you, Abhishek. We do have another question from architect Amit Das. He is asking how relevant is BIM in a smaller practice where the consultants are not yet on BIM?
Right. So the thing is that there is one part of the mandate. The mandate does not actually include the smaller practices, but pretty soon it is going to include the smaller practices also. The reason is that once it percolates into PWD and CPWD, the people who are working with them are mandated to use BIM. Similarly, the people who are working with CPWD and PWD cannot do all the work together or cannot do all the work themselves. They outsource it to smaller firms. That is when the smaller firms will also require to come into BIM, which will happen within 2.5 years. So I, as a part of Capricorn, have personally visited the CPWD headquarters, and it is in the process of getting signed also, because DMRC has already done it 3 years back. CPWD will do it, PWD will do it, and the firms which are just under them, they will also do it. This is one part. The second part is that on a personal level, if anybody wants to use the then knowledge and get better salary, get better placements, then starting from a fresher, starting from an office like AECOM would be very tough, right? They will not get chance unless they are 4 5 years, maybe 6 years experienced. And what experience they want? They want an experience in BIM. They do not want experience of just projects. So if you start from the initial days only, then you'll get a good experience in BIM. Afterwards, you can get a good job in MNC also. Plus, there are lots of, this is the third part where your own firm, if you're starting your own firm, then there is a good chance of outsourcing. A lot of projects are coming from abroad because there is cheap labor and manpower over here. The hourly rate per person is lesser over here. So outside people are actually giving the projects to Indians, and we are doing it. And lots of projects from UAE, Dubai, UK, even US are coming up nowadays. So for smaller practices, this can be maybe something which you want to consider.
Okay, thank you, Abhishek. So we have another question from Mujibur Rahman. He is asking, is there any way to calculate embodied carbon energy simulation?
Embodied carbon energy simulation. I think Insight has the capability of doing that. I personally haven't done it, but yes, Insight will have this feature. You can explore maybe a bit about Insight. INSIGHT, that's the name. And it's a valid plugin. You can directly download it. It's a free plugin.
Okay, so if anybody else wants to ask a question, then kindly do so. You can. Okay, so yes, if anybody else has a question, then please go ahead, or you can put it in the chat box, or you can just unmute yourself and ask. So Anjum Ansari has a few questions actually. The first is, if I know Revit architecture, structure, MEP, and Navisworks, then am I eligible to apply as a BIM specialist in a company?
Okay, let me answer one by one then. So you do not need to know MEP, Navisworks, structure, and architecture. One person cannot possibly be specialist in all of them. Even I did not, the models which I showed you, I also did not do the MEP for those models. It was done by someone else. And I just need to know how to coordinate between different models. An architect or even a PMC who is actually working with working in the field, they don't expect you to know all the disciplines. You will know your own field and you will know the coordination between the others. So if you know all of this, well and good, you can definitely apply as a project architect in a company which uses BIM, or you can also apply as a BIM specialist in a company if there is a position like that. Yes.
Okay. So the next question from her, I think a lot of our young participants would have this sort of question, especially those who are students, is that if I apply as a BIM specialist in a firm, then do I get to work on design related development or just BIM?
It's a very subjective question. For example, the place where I am working right now, that is Capricorn Technologies, there you can actually apply as a BIM specialist because we do training. We also go for implementation. We also are doing projects which are being outsourced by others. Like Suresh Goyal and Associates, Sumit Ghosh, they are also giving projects to us and we are doing it for them. We are also doing some POC, that is proof of concept projects for Vedanta. We are also doing proof of concept projects for MES, that is military engineering services. So those kind of projects are there. But if the question is, if you apply as a BIM specialist in a firm, then do you get a design development job or a just BIM only? It completely depends on the company. If it's a project-based company, then you do not have a position called BIM specialist. You have a position called BIM manager or coordinator, or you have a position called project architect, BIM architect, or any other positions which are regular to your field. It's very subjective that way.
And the last question is that, can a part of BIM be performed on Rhino?
So technically speaking, no, because Rhino is a 3D design software, and Grasshopper along with Rhino constitutes to parametric modeling, no doubt about that, but does not give much of information, and you cannot do any kind of clash detection or anything related to that. Even SketchUp gives you an information of, let's say, the area of the wall maybe, but that is also like a very partial BIM kind of software. Even Max will give you some information, 3ds Max, that can also not be considered as a BIM tool. So only ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, and Revit have been recognized by the international community as BIM tools.
Okay, so thank you,
Yes.
Abhishek. I think we have time for just like one last question. If anybody wants to ask something, that would be the last question before wrapping up the session. Please just go ahead, and either you can put it in the chat box, or you can just unmute yourself and ask. Anybody with the last question, or else then I would say that I do have one question, Abhishek, and that is in terms of the workflow. So I am not sure if you covered this when you were covering the 3 related softwares, but for example, when you are uploading a model to Navisworks for clash detection, is it a real-time process? So for example, if you detect a clash and go back and change the parameters or correct it in Revit, then does it get updated real time, or is it something that has to be like a step 1, step 2, and step 3?
Okay, yeah. So for this question, I think it is step 1, step 2, and step 3. So Navisworks has this feature of detecting the clashes. Then you correct it over there, and then you reload the model. You don't have to delete everything and then start over again. And you just have to click on one button called append. That is basically the reload option over there. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So I think with this, we can wrap up today's session. I thank
Surely.
Abhishek for the wonderful presentation. And before closing, I would like to inform everyone about the Every Friday webinar series, which is being organized by the Periyar School of Architecture. The webinars are a platform for young professionals to express their ideas and are aimed at students and young architects. So further, as sir mentioned in the beginning, that we would also be running short-term courses in summer schools, and the information for which will be launched very shortly. With this, I thank both Abhishek and all the participants present here. Please have a good day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tushar. Thank you, everyone.